Good evening. We are live to you once more for our Friday special. It's 8 o'clock on the 29th of May. And joining me here are Amy and Michelle and Kat in the background, who is our technical whiz, who we could not do this without. So without further ado, Michelle, would you like to talk about this crowdfunding?
Yep. So we're still after donations for the crowdfunder. The aim is to have a judicial review against the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act. It raises many concerns around human rights. As you see, challenge the risk of reducing rights for family life. If you go on the Crowd Justice page itself, it explains very clearly the stage we're at, where we're going. Sarah, who's autistic herself and also has a CIC, which does equine therapy, and she works very closely with children with the otis and home educating families and things like that, is very kindly the lead claimant on this case against the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act. We need to get to that magical 30,000 so that we can sort of start moving this along a bit more. We're quite close. We're over the 26,000 now, but it would be fantastic if we could make that 30,000 this weekend. It really would make a massive difference. So, you know, the Act has gone through. Many of us believe it's not compatible with the Human Rights Act, but at this moment in time, the Act does declare that it is compatible. Now, I know from the amount of home educators I've talked to on protests, through various groups, through the action group itself, I don't think there's a home educator that does believe that it actually is compatible with the Human Rights Act. And obviously it goes further. It gives big rise to discrimination. And particularly if you have a child with SEN, it discriminates against you even more. I know that I personally, on the day the bill words came out, on the DfE wrote, "I'm sure you must have made an error. This makes disability discrimination into law." That was back in December not even last year, the year before. Yeah. I wrote that, and if you go and look on the DfE website, back to when they very first released the first version of the bill, I personally wrote that on the DfE thread. Now it's become an act, and that hasn't gone away. So why are we raising concerns about discrimination? So one of the big concerns is how it affects children with special educational needs. So we already have, where if you've got a child in a special school, you already have a bit more of a restriction on the ability to withdraw your child. You have to be able to show that you are going to be able to provide a suitable education. Perfectly reasonable in the grounds that you may not realise some of the therapies you might lose access to because of the way they're commissioned. It's not about stopping you as a parent home educating. It's about going, well, hang on a second, before you take you off the roll, can I just check you do realise your child gets this, this and this? And the way that's commissioned, they won't get that. Have you thought about that? What are you going to do? That's why it's in place. And that's where the position is right now. But obviously this act changes that. So this raises a fundamental question. Why should this group of children be treated differently? So obviously, if your child's in mainstream school, your ability to make decisions about your child's education, provided it is suitable, remains. But if they're in the special school, they're adding this extra bit about if the local authority believes it's in the best interest of your child to attend school, not even to be on a school roll, to attend school. And your child might not have been attending for 2 years at the point you're deciding to home educate from this special school. So it's even sort of worse with the best interest in to attend. And obviously you have to question, well, just because your child's disabled, should you have more state control? Should you as a parent have less rights just because your child has a disability? And this is something that we feel really needs to be tested in court to see if actually there is merit there, if, you know, human rights does allow for this. So the case behind this seeks to test whether that difference in treatment is lawful. And it's a shift. Over 150 years, the legal position in this country has been, as long as you as a parent are providing suitable education, that's the end of the matter. Off you go. Trot along, local authority. Let the parent get on with parenting. It's been, if as a parent you're not getting on with parenting and you're not providing education, they can intervene. So that's been the position. So as long as you're a good enough parent, nothing to see here, off you go. If you're not a good enough parent, the law already allowed them to go, oh, we need eyes on, we need to have a look. So it's a really, really important challenge for every parent, because who knows if your child developed disability, if you end up with somebody making a suspicious report and you end up under a Section 47 investigative inquiry, if you end up under child protection because your child's been bullied or something like that, and you're trying to move around that, should your parental rights be reduced just because of circumstances outside your control? If you are, as a parent, doing what you should do as a parent, not harming a child and making sure they do get an education. So that's why this is so important. Yeah, as you can see, they've got up there, we're looking at the Article 8, Article 2 of Protocol 1 and Article 14. But the Crowd Justice page has all of this explained on there. You know, if you can chuck a £5 in, if everyone just chucks a £5 in, we should go well past that 30,000. As I said, the key next stage we need to reach is 30,000. Overall, this might be a case that might have to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. The reality is, unfortunately, legal challenges are not cheap. We don't want to have the wrong legal team in place. Sarah's already instructed Michael Charles, so we know that level. We're locked in with a fantastic solicitor who knows their stuff on education. But obviously, we do need to be able to fund it to be able to take the case forward. And that 30,000 is that real important next deadline, so that we can then move this further forward. Yeah, as you saw in there, it's like, you know, it's looking 250,000. It is probably longer term when we may be looking. But if you think the Brexit case, that when they took the case on the programme Parliament for Brexit, that judicial review was well over £1 million. So, you know, legal challenges are not cheap, but this is important. This is about all of our rights as parents, and about our children's rights and their children's rights. So, you know, if you can spare a £5, that'd be amazing. Or if you can chip in £1 each. Unfortunately, £5 is the minimum you can put in the Crowd Justice. But if you can chip in £1 each to get a collective of £5 to stick a £5 in, that would be really, really helpful. And yeah, it'd be amazing if we can get past that 30,000 this weekend.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so let's try and get past that 30,000. It gives us the next steps to go for. We can't go and no, I'm saying we. I'm nothing to do with this, but they can't go, and the legal team can't go and make the next steps until they get the 30,000. So that's our big goal for the weekend. So if you can please persuade many people to chip in a little bit, we can get there. Okay. To do, oh look, 1,188 pledges. There's 120,000 of you out there. Let's crack on. What's next, Kat? Oh yes. So we have questions asked in Parliament about when the implementation of the Children Not in School registers will be, and basically what the government has said is it will happen before the next general election. That's what they're saying. It'll happen before the next general election. At the moment, the next general election is due to be in the summer of 2029, which is quite a long way off. But we thoroughly believe that they will be implemented well before that. But there are steps to go before they can be implemented. There has to be some consultation. There has to be some working out of the details. It's quite a complex thing, introducing these registers. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I think that's where we are with that. So it won't be the end of the Parliament. It won't be on the eve of the next general election. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be somewhere in between. Okay. What's next? Yes. Impact assessments. Why are impact assessments really important, Michelle?
Well, you know, let's be honest, if someone's running a business, you don't go on to the next stage without like looking at the pros and cons and working out what it will cost to do, both in financial terms and what it will cost with regards to actual impact on customers or people. So when you think of the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act, if you think of an impact assessment, let's just say us as home educators, I think the impact assessment implied that all this extra paperwork that the law will be bringing in for us will take us 10 minutes a year. Well, I know from my own child's home education and the changes it has and who he has involved in his education, with the greatest will in the world, for me to provide the information they want would take me longer than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, they've added in all about these local authorities and home visits. Well, surely because they're paying out of the public purse, it might have been an idea to like ask the local authorities how many staff you have, how many home visits do you do currently, how much extra work will that be to do extra home visits? Do you think that will help or hinder your relationship with the current home educating population? Do you think you'll need training to do these home visits because, you know, you'll be lone workers and things like that? Just sort of like, I don't know any other thing in the world that is running a thing that wouldn't do an impact assessment that goes, oh, here's the costs, here's the benefits. Let's weigh it up. Now, absolutely, if when you weigh it up, you went, oh, if everyone goes and sees everyone in the house, that will safeguard everyone. And you looked into the figures and went, but if everyone's going to visit the home educators, who's going to be visiting the people we already know are on the at-risk lists and need to be visited regularly? We already know from previous case reviews, there are people whose visits have had to be cancelled, who unfortunately the consequences were tragic with social services' current workload because they could not do the visits they need to do in known high-risk situations. So if you did an impact assessment, you could go, oh, but actually, how about we fund extra staff over here that will safeguard rather than make the haystack even bigger and make no one look at anyone who does need that curiosity? Because no one's under any illusion that everything's magical. We all know that there are people who do need help. But without doing the impact assessment, how do they know how much money they need to give local authorities? How do they know whether it's going to be negative or positive? How do they know whether, and we know from stuff that came out of Wales, that people then start avoiding the health service. So is that safer for a child or less safe for a child if you're going to make it so that people will share information? You've now got a child where the parent might go, well, do you know what? I just like a bit of privacy. So I'm not going to take my child to the doctor because...
It's about looking at the unintended consequences, isn't it, Michelle? You know, the unintended consequences of doing a thing. And we know if you work in medicine at all, you'll have heard of something called iatrogenesis, which is the unintended consequences of intervening medically that are bad. The same kind of thing is likely to happen from changes in law like this, changes in the relationship between local authorities and families, etc., etc. And they just haven't gone and looked at it properly to check it out. You know, we think it's a disaster waiting to happen, but you know, they're just going, oh no, everything will be fine. We are nice people, and that's not the way the world works. So yeah. Okay, let's move on. Makes me mad. Oh, I love this story. I absolutely love this story. This is news from New Zealand. In New Zealand, they wanted to introduce some extra requirements for parents who were home educating. And they just sort of tried to put them into law. And the home educators in New Zealand went, whoa, that's not a good idea. That's going to cause damage. That's not the right thing to do. And the government listened to the home educators and have taken a step back and are talking to the home educators and the local government to see what can be done and what is right to do. Oh, how we wish that would be what happened here, but they didn't do that here. There's New Zealand behaving like grown-ups. How lovely. That's my conclusion. But we've got some stories from other countries as well, haven't we, Kat? So in Finland, they're still banging on a bit about the Finnish security agency has got a bee in their bonnet about Finnish homeschoolers. Now, there are less than 1,000 children home educated, about 0.18% of the population of school children are in Finland, despite the fact that in Finland, it's enshrined in the constitution that you can home educate. They are worried about segregation. They are worried that home education environments can become social bubbles. what you notice with the language in this piece is we are worried that X might happen. We don't have any evidence that X is happening, but we're worried that X might happen. You know, unfortunately, they're going on and on about things happening, and the home educators are coming out and going, but it doesn't happen. We are socialized. Look at what we do over here. You know, we aren't radicalized. Yes, of course we teach religion if we are religious, but we're not religious extremists. Come and have a look, you know. So it's a bit of one of them where somebody has a bee in their bonnet about home education, doesn't think it should be happening, and those pesky parents should be told to stop and put their children into school so that they can go through the Finnish education system, which I have to say is one of the best in the world. So that's why the home education population is so small in Finland, because the look at that. That's the numbers in the various districts. Tiny number of home educated children. Yeah, they haven't produced any suicide bombers yet. Let's just say that. You know, there are no concerns at all about them. So have we got which one's next? Is it the Dutch one? Let's have a look. Yeah, oh, there we go. So in the Netherlands, it has been quite difficult to home educate. They brought in, they made school compulsory over a decade ago, and you could only home educate as a matter of conscience or religious reasons, or I think there's one other exemption, which I believe is to do with special needs, but it's very, so it had already become very difficult, but most parents who were home educating were saying they were doing it as a conscientious thing. They were doing it as a conscience thing. The High Court, the Supreme Court in the Netherlands has ruled that that just not wanting to send your children to school, you can't claim exemption from the obligation to go to school if there are no suitable schools, if there are suitable schools nearby. So they have this Lehrpflicht law, which is very similar to the one in Germany. School is compulsory. If you've got a primary school within 6 kilometers or a secondary school within 20 kilometers, you have to send your child to school. So they're clamping down on it. But yet again, there's rumors and nonsense about how dangerous home education could be, because there could be, you know, all sorts of things going on. We need more scrutiny, blah, 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 blah. So it's the same message. It's politicians that just do not like the population refusing their public education offer. But again, in the Netherlands, the education system is way better than ours. They have lots of different types of schools. In particular, they have something called sociocratic schools. So there's quite a lot more choice in the Netherlands than there is here. So on the one hand, they've clamped down on home education, but on the other hand, they do let parents set up schools on sociocratic and democratic lines, which we're not allowed to here. So that's where we are in the Netherlands. Okay, what's next? Oh, okay. I'm going to say a little bit about this.
England.
Jump in. So, you know, this thing, we've got this thing called AI, haven't we? And we've all come across it, and we love it or we hate it, or we use it as a tool sometimes, etc. Now, what AI does is it comes up with something. It kind of lies to you sometimes. It comes up with complete nonsense sometimes. Now they've piloted AI in the use of social care reports, and it has said all kinds of things about so it's negated things that were true, or it's put in things that weren't true. For example, suicidal ideation or a risk of suicide, and without a person doing it. I mean, fine, use AI to help you, use it as a tool, don't rely on it not to do everything. You absolutely have to check it through. And now they want to do it do it. They want schools to use it for all sorts of things. They want to teach using AI as well, don't they, Michelle?
Yeah, well, the first bits are starting, aren't they? So, you know, and you know, it's going to be sort of the poorer backgrounds will get the AI tutors, the richer backgrounds gets the person.
Yep.
So AI is sort of infiltrating everywhere, but again, some things are supposed to match a child's needs individually, which AI follows patterns. So without having the correct needs captured in the first place, it won't get the provision right. So it's, you know, copy and paste badly en masse. It's not going, it will make it quicker, but that doesn't mean that any of the plans will be fit for purpose. And there's also a data risk here, because the whole thing is, if you actually just put into AI what you already have. So if you want to do it good, you need to be putting the EP reports in there. You need to put the SALT reports, OT reports. Well, who's redacting it first to ensure AI doesn't just scrape all that personal data as well? So you not only can have a completely not fit for purpose plan at the end of it, you could actually be exposing very sensitive private data to the general populace through AI. So it contains tons and tons of risks. And again, I think it goes back to impact assessments and safeguards and actually thinking this through before you do it. The pilot bits they've done so far haven't come up good for protecting the child's rights. It may make a nice plan at the end of it, but a plan can look nice, but if it doesn't fit its purpose, it doesn't matter whether you use AI or a person.
Yeah. We were this thing about the plans have to be needs based and not copy and paste is so important. You know, we at the moment we have this system. It's not perfect, but the EHCP system, we can get it to work for our children. It sometimes takes a lot of bashing around, but we can get it to work because it's a needs-based system. You identify the needs of the child. And this is just going to end up being a mess. Just awful, terrible. Okay, so what have we got next? Amy, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so Jen has been on the Big Home Ed Conversation podcast, and there's a write-up here of that podcast, so you can go and have a watch, go and have a little read, depending on your personal preferences, a little bit of good news and positive home education affiliations there, just to kind of help you feel a little bit happier about the world.
Well, we love Jen. This is our Jen, our lovely Jen. And she's such a great communicator. And she's so enthusiastic about so many things. She's really good at boiling things down to bullet points, isn't she? At really, really getting to the heart of the matter. And anything she ever does is well worth listening or watching. So go help yourself. It sounds like it's a great. I haven't had the chance yet to see it. I only found out about it at 7 o'clock tonight. But I'm sure it'll be absolutely super. Okay. Oh, here we go. The Children Commissioner has decided to do another whopping big survey where she's going to listen to everybody. Michelle's had some suggestions of it's one of these surveys where it's got a lot of free text boxes, and she clearly hasn't learned a lesson. Don't put a free text box in front of a angry parent. Michelle, do you want to say anything?
Well, this is like her big goodbye, because it's the end of her term and somebody else has to step in afterwards. So this survey is out. It's open until October, so it closes in the half term later on this year. It does recognise home education. You can choose that you are home educated, which is fantastic. And I know that's due to the home educated children over the last couple of years correcting her whenever they tried to do one of her surveys and found they didn't have a choice to be themselves and actually confirm they're educated. So that is now added in. Someone has noticed they haven't got EOTAs as an option. So I think that'll be the next campaign, is getting that added on as well. So the Children's Commissioner should represent all children, and they're supposed to listen to all children's views. So this is a nice, easy way to feed back to the Children's Commissioner what your views are right now. Now, I know some people have put in that something like, because it asks you in this one, that who would you vote for if you could vote right now? But it's also got things like, what would you say to the government? So, you know, I know several children have said that they don't want home visits. They'd like the home to be safe. I'm also aware one's pointing out then not very keen on this act, and they'd like this act to be got rid of. So your child can put in what they think, what their views are, and the Children's Commissioner will have to read them, listen to them, and analyse them and put them forward. So there is an option for your child can fill it in themselves. There's an option for you to mark that your child's filled it in with support from a parent. So, you know, there's no reason not to fill it in. There is options to not put your local authority in and things like that. So you can prefer not to say on things. So you can do it without putting personal details in, just making clear your views. So it's a perfect opportunity for your child to have a chance to actually be listened to, because we know they haven't been listened to a lot in the last couple of years with a lot of the sort of policies coming out from the DfE.
Yeah. So, yeah, go fill it in. Feel free to make good use of those free text boxes. That means you could type anything in you like in those boxes. There you go. Lots of things you could type in. I think we'd probably done. Oh, look at that, 27 minutes. Oh, yes. I do like to be under half an hour, as these ladies know. Probably because about half an hour is my limit for watching something like this. So anyway, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Don't get too warm. Keep hydrated.
Subscribe
go
to the
fill in
Substack.
surveys. Yep, go fill in the survey. Go give some money to the crowdfunding. Once you've done that, you can enjoy your holiday, your weekend. Okay, we're done, I think. Anything else? No. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.